And welcome back to Bunters Yard. So today's video is just a kind of a tour of my desk, my workspace. A few people have asked, different questions about some paints and products that we use, and generally on a video there's always a question or two. So the few things that I want to just sort of have a look at really, and maybe see if we can answer a few questions. If there's any questions, if anything I miss or I think I skim over, just make a comment down below and I'll either answer it or follow up with another video if enough people want to watch this one. So let's have a quick look around the bench and see what we've got. The first thing I wanted to show you actually was this is really uninteresting, but these are my glasses. So I know they're just glasses, but when I went to the opticians a few years back, I had my normal sort of reading glasses and driving glasses made, but I had these made as well, and these are, I don't know if you can see, but the lenses are quite thick. These are very close focus, so any detail work that I do, I'll use these because they focus just a few inches away from my nose. So it saves wearing those, those plastic things with the lenses and the lights on. It makes you look like some mad professor. So I have these made and I use them for close-up work. But anyway, I just wanted to quickly show those. Anyway, here we go. So let's move around. Let's lift the camera. So first thing we've got is we've got a TV monitor or a PC monitor, which is sort of a clone of the PC down the end of the studio, and this would just we'll have on here obviously things for reference. So this is a picture of an MEA for a backman job that we've got coming in. So just trying out a reference image up there. So this part, when it's clear as it is today, these are today's little jobs. These are not particularly massive jobs, but a bit of assembly for some platforms and some little bits and pieces that we haven't got in stock that I just need to do, bits of weathering and so on. So they'll make their way through a bit later on today. We've got a few odd bits over here. We like always have cotton buds handy, always have a cocktail stick handy. They're good for different things, obviously. For the scratching and the sticking and holding. So if you're doing things like wheels and things like that, you can maybe stick that in and twist it around rather than hold it in your fingers. I think most people have got a PP3 battery on there in the workspace, especially if you're weathering a DC sort of loco, so you can get the wheels to turn and to get it weathered properly. Up here, blue roll. We get through quite a bit of blue roll, so I'm sure you appreciate. Let's go further down. Let's look further down what we got. These are very good. If you haven't ever used these, I think they're called 1, 2, 3 blocks. I'm not sure. I think that's the kind of dimension: 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. But they're good for squaring things up. So if you're putting buildings together, you can make sure they're square. And they're nice and weighty and they hold things in place. So we've got a couple of sets of those. They're not, the cheapest thing in the world, but definitely worth getting. They come in pairs, generally speaking. So I definitely would suggest that everyone keeps a couple of those. We've got up here some sanding sticks. These are from a jewelry company, I think, but they're just a wooden stick with paper stuck on them in different grades and different shapes, so they're always quite handy. And these things here, I've made these. We just 3D printed these. These will actually take a Daypole loco, the Hawthorne Leslie. They're made especially for that. So these holes are spaced correctly for that, and we can take them off the plastic base that they come with, screw them onto there, and then we can access them all around and paint them all over. Rather than getting the fingers dirty or getting any finger marks on them. So they're quite a useful little thing. Where should we go from there? palettes. I'm sure you've all got those. We like the metal ones, and we've got some of these little individual ones we can use to mix if you're doing a wash or so, or sort of a larger volume that would fit in those. So we'll use those. I tend to use this most of the time. Onto these. Now, I tend to buy stuff and never get to use it for whatever reason, but they always seem like a good idea at the time. But I've never seen rubber paint brushes before, so I need to investigate what they're, how they're intended to be used. But they looked really interesting, so I've got a set of those. We'll have a play with those at some point. And Ammo also do a weathering brush set, which is just a selection of brushes, a couple of dry brushes and a pigment brush. Maybe I have to try that at some point, and then some decent brushes as well. So we'll give that a go at some point too. And then we have this very underused set of weathering pencils from AK. I've seen videos on these, and they always look really, really good the way they use them, but I can never get the effect. I think I need to practice more. That's the key with that, I think. So I will be doing that. But also, I've got somewhere. I'll find it in a minute. Bear with me a second. Oh, here we go. The lock and load, and again, I really want to get on with these. But my results are just never that good. But they are a really nice kit, and it's the pen. It's quite a nice tactile heavy thing. So I do want to use those. I mean, there's the instructions there. I maybe need to watch the videos a bit more and give them a go. But I really like the idea of them. Maybe I will at some point. Let's have a look. So paints, got lots of paints. So just the colours that we use quite a lot. So these are all Vallejo colours. Well, mainly Vallejo colours. They're not all Vallejo colours. Model Air, which is that one. Model Air is already mixed and thinned, ready to go in your airbrush. And this one is a model colour. So model colour is a bit thicker, and we'll need thinning down with the appropriate thinners. Speaking of thinners, they're up here. So there's our Vallejo airbrush thinner next to the airbrush cleaner. I mentioned that before, why it's got the yellow tape, because then I haven't got to read what's on the label. I can just grab the one with the yellow tape. Then I know it's the correct one. Now I did, is this one here? There we go. We did try some of this Real Colors high compatibility thinner, but it wasn't compatible with Vallejo. Not all of them anyway, because it makes it kind of curdle, and you end up with this sort of cream cheese effect inside your airbrush, which you have to then clean out. So we don't use that for that. We'll use that just to if we're going to do sort of washes and dragging and things like that. So let's go back up here. Yes, I've got a selection of colours. Try to use the Model Air for the majority of the time, because it's just, squirt it straight into the airbrush and away you go. Generally, we don't have to thin those down. If we look further up, we've got these premium colours. These are just nice sort of solid colours that we use. Blacks, there's normally a brown. We've just run out of that. The white, and then things like the yellow and the red. Yellow and the white, really good coverage without too much priming, so you haven't got to worry about that. So they're good to use. If you're going to do lots of white, I'd really suggest you have a look at that one. The premium colour, it comes in a smaller bottle as well, but the premium colour's quite heavy in pigment, which is great. Let's have another look up here. So up here we've got a selection of different pigments. We like to use the Vallejo ones. They don't all cover the same, so all brands are slightly different. So I don't get on with, personally, the carbon black in the Vallejo. It doesn't seem to bond to what I'm doing too well. So I like to use the Humbrol one. And there's different powders for different colour earths and rust and so on. And this one is called, let's have a quick look, make sure I tell you the right name. It is called, there we go, it's called Smoke, which is like a grey. It's not really smoke, it's more like a soot. So you use that in combination with the black, it looks really, really good. Then we've got some others, some decay and moss. And then over here, Vallejo grease, AK interactive shafts grease. We've used that a few times because it dries with a sort of wet look. So it looks like grease on axles and buffers and that sort of thing. And then moving up here, these are new, we're just sort of trying these out. These are dry brush paints. They're kind of like a thick paint, which is used for dry brushing because it bonds to your, sticks to your brush better than a thin sort of model air colour. So we've got a few rust colours, and then a copper one, a copper and a brass, we use those. And then grey and light grey, which we use for figures, that or the white. Just adds detail if you dry brush over the sort of creases in there, clothing, that sort of thing. It just brings that highlight out. Up the top, we've done some videos recently on this U-Rust, which I really like these, and as you probably know. So they are, yeah, they're on the website, and we sell an awful lot of these, but we use a lot as well. The Scenic Rust we've used before, which is kind of similar to these, but this comes in a few different pots with a oxide powder and a adhesive, like a bonder sort of thing. Let's have a look on the top shelf. So you've got some weird things on the top shelf. So Copydex glue, which is that rubber glue. And then we've got asphalt and concrete. So these are textured, we like those. Johnson's Clear, which you can't buy exactly the same as this anymore. They've changed the formula and the label, and I think it's a different colour now or something. But clear is very good for adding a layer before you put on decals, or even after. So that's quite a useful thing to have. But that lasts for, I think I've had that bottle about 10 years now, so it does last quite well. Mod Podge hairspray. So we just use the cheapest one we can find. This is the Sainsbury's one. It's good for chipping, paint chipping, that sort of thing. So if you're doing a rust, sort of rusty steel, then we'll do the rust first. Give it a coat of this, and then the colour on top, and then once it's dry, we'll just brush it off with either a brush or one of the green scour type cloths, and then the rust shows through, and it just looks like it's all chipped away. White Spirit, got some glues. Low odor thinners is for oil paints. Where are we next? Some hat and loads. What, you can guess how long I've had those. We don't use a lot, but it's good for just sort of suggesting, remains of loads in backs of wagons and so on. And then we've got a few other bits, some rail match we haven't used them for a while, and then super glue bonder and paper shaper. I think I've shown paper shaper before, so which is just you can use it to make tarpaulins and that sort of thing. It just makes paper soft, and you can then reshape it and into the shape of a tarpaulin. So it's quite a nice thing. Then we've got a selection of tapes. So masking tape. So we use this orange tape. It's quite a low tack. It doesn't sort of damage anything, unless of course you're not that careful using it. And it comes off really nice, and it gives a nice sharp edge, and as I say, it does although it's low tack, it sticks really well. So we use that. Double-sided tape we use a lot, so we'll use that to, for instance, let's see if I can show you. So we'll use like a disc like that for let's say if we're painting a figure, put a piece of double-sided tape across, the figure then stands on top, and then we can just handle it that way. And we've got quite a few of those in in a little box. These are just offcuts from things that we make. This is bonsai wire. So bonsai wire is just aluminium wire. This is black. It comes in silver as well, and you can. It's good for cables and pipes and that sort of thing. What else do we have? This is really nice. This is I think this is whiteboard marking tape or something. I'm not sure what they call it, but it's something like that. This is just a very fine one, and we use that for things like strapping. So if you're strapping a load down, it looks about right because it's about a millimetre. It gives you a 3" in 00. So it's good for like strapping loads down or strapping loads together, that sort of thing. Let's move back down here. So we've got a selection of scissors and knives and pens, Sharpie pens, all different reasons for those. Different bits and pieces in there, and some moody old brushes. Oh, talking about brushes, let's have a look back over here. So brushes, now we tend to have one decent set of brushes within this lot here, and then the rest are just kind of sort of rubbish, I guess. So these are very, very cheap, you know, things from Temu, and they cost literally pennies each. These flat brushes are really good for glues and all sorts of things. And you know, if you're using it for you know, some of the U-Rust stuff, which is got lots of sort of texture in it and pigment or whatever, they're difficult to clean because they literally cost pennies each. You can use them once or twice and then get rid of them. It's probably not good for the universe, I suppose, but and then got a selection of dry brushes here, different sizes, different ages. Some of them are on their way out. Stippling brushes, if you want to create a bit of a texture. We've got a selection of those in there. Don't use them particularly often, but they're there anyway. On into this one, which is the oil brusher. If you've not used these before, these are oil paints and they're already pre-mixed, and they're good for doing oil for rust streaks. So you just literally put a dot of this oil brush, oil brusher paint on the top of your whatever you're weathering. Put a dot of that on, drag it down with a dampened brush, dumped in odorless thinners, and it will create a little streak. We've done that before. We've got the video on that. I think on the bridge side, I think is on there. So we've used that on there before. These I'm going to miss out. We don't use these particularly anymore, but they're there, and I'll go back to these or something like those in a minute. Up here we've got our weathering powders. So there's a selection in there we use, and some brushes that we like to use. Got some odd bits and pieces in there, some blades we've never used, and some other bits. And then we've got our airbrush. This is the one we like to use. I say we, I mean me. This is the Iwata HPC Plus. So they're sort of a couple of £100 each maybe, but a really nice sort of reliable brush. Having said that, we've got a second one there, waiting for a service. I've damaged it, and so that's going to be sent off. And this one here is the Iwata Neo. These are about £80 or so from Amazon. They're definitely worth investing if you're going for your first airbrush. That's the one, the Iwata Neo. What else do we have? Oh, let's show you over this side. So over here we have some other bits and pieces. So the real colour marker pens, so these are acrylic paint pens. Let's show you inside there. So this is the big set. You can buy smaller sets if you choose, but it's got some interesting colours in, some woods and greys and some rusts and browns and stuff like that. So they're really good, and they are acrylic paint, so they dry really quickly and they dry matte, and so they're good for detailing. You can use it for rust as well. In these. I've just relabeled these, although I haven't sorted out the bits in between. So if I open the drawer, that's not going to be in there. But anyway, we use, so this is a matte vinyl sticky sheet. These are A4, and we use them for everything that we make, such as billboards. So you've got the billboards here, and these are for the oil drums, and then there's all different sorts of different bits. And where's the rest of the? There we go. Here's the rest of the billboards. We're just waiting to sort these out into the correct sizes, into the proper drawer. Now, when we print these billboards and anything on the matte vinyl, they're printed on a Canon photo printer, so which is the Prograph 300, and that's a pigment printer rather than an ink printer. And what that means is that apart from being a good quality, is that the image shouldn't fade in UV because it's archival quality. So so it should last on your layout without fading. Unlike if you use a desktop printer, normal inkjet printer, they will fade. Literally within days they will start to fade. Also in here we've got things like, if you can see what they are, but these are decals. These are just made for us. We don't tend to sell these. These are just lots of different ones. We do lots of biffers, as you know, and there's some different ones in there just for sort of general use for us. And then some other decals for graffiti and odd things that we need them for. This one is just a box of basically it's rubbish, just scrap for things like our bins. So these are black bags and bits of cardboard, and there's some odd bits and pieces in there that we use. What have we got here? These are our abrasives. So we've got emery paper or wet and dry. These are really good. We like to use these a lot. So these are a sanding sponge. Tamiya do one as well, but these are on the website. But there are 6 different. There are 10 different gauges, 5 in each pack. Gauges, roughness, whatever the grades. That was the word I'm looking for. Yeah, and they're rubberized, so quite flexible. So they're nice. I like to use those. Dremel. We use the Dremel a lot for making holes and polishing. These are quite good for these like scouring pad things, but they're good for polishing certain things. And then they're marker pens. So have a quick look at the markers. We like these. So we use a lot of these Posca pens. So they are Posca markers. These are paint markers, and these are the fine ones. These I think they're called 1MR or something. Yeah, PC. I don't know if you can see it on there. So I can find one to show you. There we go. PC 1MR. So they're a fine tip, and they're good for things like lining and graffiti, just writing door numbers on, that sort of thing. Anything handwritten. We've got the whole selection of the colours in there. Well, we've got a large selection of colours in there, and we've got a few spares as well. And then we've got these Sharpie pens. Now, Sharpie do a whole selection of colours. Let's get rid of those. So it comes in a set, and these are very good for sort of backgrounds on graffiti, that sort of thing. Sort of white and yellow, especially, are good for lining on edges of platforms and so on. So let me just grab one. So for this platform, for instance, we have shown this before, but we can mask along this line here, and then just run over it with the white pen, and that's done. It dries within seconds, and you can take the tape off and it's done. For the yellow, we'll do the same again, mask it, run along with the white pen, and then yellow over the top, and kind of gives that effect. And then even in the gutter in the middle, we'll use the AK ones that we showed you earlier, because that's got a dark brown in there. It's called a chipping pen, but it's dark brown. So that's the Sharpies. We've got a selection of white. We keep a few extra whites and a few other different makes of those as well. Lock and load we showed earlier on. This is a wet palette. We've used that before for painting figures. So sometimes we'll use that, but don't use that often anymore. And then the final thing is these scouring pads, or whatever you want to call them. So these are really good for lots of different things. These are from, say the label. These are from Sainsbury's. You can buy them anywhere. We cut them into small bits, and we use them for paint chipping. So for things like these, for instance. So we'll paint these in a rust colour, and then we'll seal that with a matte varnish, hairspray as we showed you before, and then put the colour over the top. And once it's kind of fairly dry, use some of this, a bit wet, and the paint starts to chip off, and you get left with that sort of texture look. So that's really good, cheap and easy way to get that rust. And that's it, pretty much finished. The last thing we wanted to show is just our, well, we call them Lazy Susans, but this is not. This is made for modelers anyway. It's just this rotating sort of wheel. These are worth getting. I would definitely get one of these. They're not expensive, and then you can put your whatever it is you're painting on the side, and you can just spin it around and paint. The only thing is when you're painting these, you know, in like a wagon and so, is that the sides are at that sort of angle, and so you have to get your airbrush sort of down low, or just hold it to one side, which is not a problem. But I've been playing with this recently. Let's see if you can see what it is. And the wagon would sit on there and hold it at a different angle. I haven't actually tried it yet, but I thought I might give it a go. But it was just sitting there on the floor, and I thought I'd show you and see what you think anyway. But any comments, please do add them below in the comment section. I'll try and reply to all of them as much as I can. And it's always nice to hear from you and get your thoughts on stuff. So that's it for today's video. Maybe a tour of the workshop if people want to see the rest of what goes on behind the scenes with the 3D printers and laser cutters, and our sort of process. Again, just let me know in the comments, and maybe that will be our next video. Although we've got some wagons coming in as a commission, so I'll probably show one or two of those as well, because there's a few things I want to show. But that's it for today. Again, thank you for your time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time at Bunters Yard. Bye for now.